Alias woke to the sharp snap of a branch outside the church. His heart raced as he instinctively reached for his knife, his senses immediately on alert. The boy was already at the doorway, his body tense and his gaze fixed on the darkened forest beyond the barrier. "What is it?" Alias whispered as he moved to stand beside the boy. The air outside felt heavier than usual, the oppressive stillness making the hairs on his arms stand on end. The boy didn't answer but pointed toward the tree line. Alias squinted, trying to discern what had caught the boy's attention. At first, he saw nothing, just the faint outlines of trees and undergrowth swaying in the night breeze. Then he noticed it. A patch of darkness darker than the rest, shifting unnaturally between the trees. Alias's breath hitched. The shadow creature. "It's getting bolder," he murmured. He glanced at the boy, whose wide eyes reflected both fear and resolve. "But it can't cross the barrier, right?" The boy hesitated before nodding, his movements slow and uncertain. Alias frowned, his grip tightening on the hilt of his knife. He didn't like the ambiguity of that response. The shadow lingered at the edge of the barrier, its form pulsating as though testing the invisible boundary. Alias could feel the malice radiating from it, a tangible force that made his skin crawl. He took a step forward, positioning himself between the boy and the creature. "You're not getting in," Alias muttered, his voice steady despite the unease gnawing at him. "Not while I'm here." The shadow recoiled slightly, as if acknowledging the challenge. Then, with a low, guttural sound that resonated through the clearing, it melted back into the forest. Alias exhaled, his shoulders relaxing marginally. He turned to the boy, who was still watching the tree line with a guarded expression. "We need to figure out how to deal with that thing," Alias said. "It's not going to stop testing the barrier." The boy nodded, his silence more communicative than words could ever be. The next morning, Alias began his search for anything within the church that might help them. He combed through old texts, examined the murals more closely, and even checked beneath loose floorboards for hidden compartments. The boy followed him quietly, occasionally offering assistance by pointing out areas Alias had overlooked. One discovery caught Alias's attention: a locked chest tucked beneath the altar. The wood was ancient, its surface marred with scratches and symbols that looked similar to those in the murals. Alias knelt beside it, running his fingers over the carvings. "Looks important," he said, glancing at the boy. "Any idea how to open it?" The boy tilted his head, then gestured toward the mural depicting the robed figure. Alias frowned, studying the image. The glowing object in the figure's hand seemed to hold the key. But how? As Alias pondered, the boy stepped forward and placed his hand on the chest. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, faint lines of light began to trace the carvings, illuminating the symbols with an ethereal glow. The chest clicked, and the lid creaked open. Alias stared in astonishment. "Well, that's new." Inside was a collection of objects. A small vial filled with shimmering liquid, a worn journal, and a medallion etched with the same spiral symbol the boy had drawn in the dirt. Alias picked up the medallion, turning it over in his hand. It felt warm to the touch, pulsing faintly as though alive. "What is this?" he murmured. He held it out to the boy, who hesitated before taking it. The moment the medallion touched his skin, the glow intensified, and the air in the church seemed to hum with energy. The boy's expression shifted, a mixture of recognition and fear. He clutched the medallion tightly and pointed to the journal. Alias opened it, scanning the faded pages filled with intricate diagrams and notes written in an unfamiliar script. One passage caught his eye. Though the language was foreign, the accompanying sketches told a story. A figure wielding the medallion to banish a shadow-like creature, the light from the object driving it back into the void. Alias's jaw tightened. This medallion, it's a weapon against the shadow. The boy nodded, his grip on the medallion firm. Alias met his gaze, a surge of determination welling within him. We have a chance to fight back, but we'll need to figure out how to use it properly. The boy's eyes sparkled with a newfound resolve. For the first time since Alias had arrived, he sensed a glimmer of hope, fragile but undeniable. That night, Alias and the boy sat together near the fountain, the medallion resting between them. Alias sketched the symbols from the journal into the dirt, trying to decipher their meaning. The boy watched intently, occasionally pointing to a symbol or shaking his head in silent correction. You really are tied to all of this, Alias said, glancing at the boy. The barrier, the shadows, the medallion, it's all connected to you. The boy nodded, his expression solemn. Alias sighed, running a hand through his hair. No pressure or anything, right? The boy's lips twitched into the faintest of smiles. Alias chuckled softly, the tension easing just a little. As the stars emerged above them, Alias felt a renewed sense of purpose. The battle against the shadow was far from over, but with the boy by his side and the medallion in their possession, they had a fighting chance.